Welcome to the Earth Feels podcast.
I'm Rose.
And I'm Christine.
Welcome to Earth Feels, the podcast for people feeling overwhelmed by the endlessly gloomy climate news.
Where every week we have soul-based conversations about climate change and explore the idea that climate change may be happening for us as much as it is happening to us.
If you are ready to shift your focus and secure the future for our kids and our grandkids, then this is the podcast for you.
And yes, we do know how to spell.
Today's question is, how can we reconnect with Mother Earth in a time where many of us may feel disconnect and the separateness, the false separateness? Today, our guest is Mare Cromwell, and Mare is a Gaia communicator and priestess. She's a healer and the author of The Great Mother Bible, Messages from Mother, Earth Mother, and If I Gave You God's Phone Number. The founder of the Thousand Goddesses Gathering, uniting women on the Washington Mall. I think that was back in 2018.
Actually, it's now a global grid.
Oh, okay. So Thousand Goddesses Gathering Global Grid. And that's based on I thought it was a Hopi prophecy, but it's a Tibetan prophecy.
Tibetan prophecy.
That when 1,000 goddesses gather, the divine feminine will rebirth through their combined energies, and the tone of energy on the planet will shift from one of fear to one of love. That makes goosebumps, you know. Most recently, Mare was featured on episode 136 here on Earth Feels, sharing her powerful voice with 14 other women to answer the question, what is the role of the collective feminine in planetary healing? So welcome, Mare. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be with you today on this beautiful sunny day, and spring is popping outside here in Maryland. So I'm just thrilled.
Yes, it's sunny here on Cape Cod too. And it's such a gift at this time of year.
So Rose, you know what? And I forgot this until just now. For those who don't know me, and I know you just introduced me, Mother Gaia, her energy and her consciousness was brought into my energy body in a ceremony in 2012 in early June, right after I was diagnosed with lymphoma. The Algonquin elder who did this ceremony, just before we started, he says, I'm going to be bringing Mother's energy and consciousness into your energy body, but I don't know how you're going to disconnect. And I told him in the moment that I wasn't concerned, because I already knew at that point in my life, in my early 50s, that my life has been to serve Mother and the earth and to help heal these dynamics on earth that are so out of balance. So before we started, I was at my altar, and I have a couple altars around my space because I basically have made my little studio into a temple of sorts.
Uh-huh.
This is what happens when you're a priestess, is you make your home a temple. Mother said, why don't we start the interview as a ceremony? So are you okay if I call in?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so here we go. Oh, Creator, great mystery source, please bless us, Rose and myself, in this beautiful interview. Your beautiful daughters here on the earthly planes, please bless us with all that we need for our highest good and for Mother Gaia's highest good as the new earth bursts these days, which is coming through big time. Oh, Mama, oh, Mother Gaia, we are your earth daughters here, Rose and Mare, with so much love and gratitude for you. We ask, Mother, that you give us the right words to say. Help us bring forth your healing energies for this interview and beyond this interview, so that all who may listen to this be touched by you and your amazing healing heart energies, which are beyond words. Oh, so be it, so it is. Welcome. And to any others on the spirit plane who wish to be part of this, to support this interview, I'm not going to go calling through all these names because a whole bunch are gathering right now, but welcome all those who are serving the highest good for divine pan alignment, for Mother Gaia and for Rose and myself. Oh, okay.
So be it.
So be it. So we now have a crowd with us. And for those who don't really know how Gaia priestesses work, we don't work alone. We have spirit teams that support our work, and the biggest team member is Mother Gaia. I also want to share, as a mystic, I talk with the stones, they talk back. I talk with the trees, they talk back. And I always am really clear that I will only communicate with those serving the highest good from the spirit planes. So life's an adventure. But we wanted to talk about connecting and reconnecting with Mother Gaia. And I have downloaded from her, and she's here right now, a series of points basically about climate change and her and the bigger picture, the greater plan afoot on the planet right now, because there's a much greater plan afoot that's not in the media. And it's not fear-based. It's really about coming back into the love, coming back into who we truly are as her beloved children, two-leggeds here on the planet. And the first book I did with Mother, called Messages from Mother, Earth Mother, which was written right after that ceremony in 2012 when she was brought into my energy body in that ceremony. The prophecies talk about these times. One thing a lot of people don't realize about the prophecies is it's not something set in stone. The prophecies are based on a certain vision. And there are many variables that can shift, which means either that vision will come into full fruition or not. But the prophecies from practically all indigenous peoples around the world talk about this time of great change. The change is more than the shifting in the climate. The change is about a new birth of a new earth, basically. And that's a good poem right there. We won't go any further than that stanza, that line. So there is a much greater plan afoot with climate change right now, or climate chaos. And so one of the things that Mother really wants me to bring forward to your listeners is that there is, unfortunately, and for a variety of complicated reasons, an energetic zone around the planet that is created by the human emotional fields. There's a term that some use for this called wetiko.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, it's one way to spell it is WETIKO. And there's a man named Paul Levy, Levy, who's written a book about it. He has studied with native elders, and they actually have the Algonquins. It started with the Algonquins that he's been working with. They have a spiritual concept called wetiko. And it's an actual spiritual being that can jump into people and make them cannibalistic and murderous and bring out all sorts of fear and separation energetics. And there are native elders who have, for the past 20 or so years, been witnessing what's going on in the Western world and said there is a wetiko spirit afoot within the Western dominant paradigm. And I'm bringing all this up because what this is about is a huge energetic grid of fear and separation. And the pandemic is like a consummation of it in some ways, a manifestation in the physical as a virus. Because look at us, we're quarantined, we're afraid of each other, we can't hug. So the climate chaos that's happening on the planet is part of this dance of fear. And I'm not saying that there isn't climate chaos, because there is. But the reason that we're experiencing climate chaos is far more complicated than just the burning of fossil fuels. Part of it has to do with the birthing of the new earth.
It does feel, I've been having this conversation with a number of people, it does feel like we are in the birth canal.
And we are.
We are moving from a paradigm that was known, that we were comfortable with or uncomfortable with, but definitely the white supremacy paradigm. And now, as more and more people are awakened to the plight of all other sentient beings beyond white heterosexual men, we're moving into something new. Remember what it was like to be birthed, but I have to believe that that womb-like space that I was in inside my mother's womb, when I outgrew that, it was time to move into something different, right? And it had to have been pretty damn scary. Just like people who are alive are afraid of death. There's another transition that we don't understand, right? And so it takes faith and trust and all of those kinds of things. And I think we're seeing a huge fear body right now because people don't know what's next.
Yeah, and I feel very, very blessed because I've been given visions of this new earth for years, spiritual visions. And actually, the last chapter in my book, Messages from Mother, Earth Mother, is a spiritual journey to the future that Mother took me on.
I did read that and I passed it on, but it's been a number of years now, so I don't remember. Do you want to
give a synopsis of it?
Yeah, just a little illustration of what that might look like.
First of all, People are leading simpler lives. There is so much joy in the community. Healing is done at a whole different level of energy work and grounded in the healing powers of the plants and the energies of the water, et cetera, et cetera. Energy is sourced from these boxes that are a technology that doesn't need anything other than the energy around each home and coming in from the sun. There's far less energy needed. There's a sense of oneness and joy. I don't know, I think I said joy before, but there's a sense of balance and a sense of belonging, and everyone feels safe.
That sounds like paradise, doesn't it?
But that's where we're headed. That's what this new earth is. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the new earth energetics are already here on earth. And it's up to each one of us to actually pull those energetics in, to rise up to it, and also pull it into reality here on earth. And what that means is many different things. It means shifting our ways so that we recognize that ripping things out of mother's bones, which is the earth's crust, was never a wise idea. Contaminating mother and ourselves, our body, our cells within ourselves, with toxins that don't break down is never a good idea. We have all the energy we need that is coming into the planet every day. And the brilliance of someone like Tesla knew how to tap into that type of energy and other types of energy without us ever having to take anything out of the earth's crust. I'm really blessed with my work because of my capacity to communicate with mother and to receive these visions, and for her to ask me to be a voice for her. It's an adventure. It's not easy every day. And yet the amount of hope that is right there in front of us, but it's clouded by the fear, is so huge once we step outside of this reality bubble, which is way too tight and too fear-based. And here's the thing is that my reality bubble is not the same as most people's reality bubble, because I have been blessed with these visions and an understanding of the intelligences of that's all around us. That Mother Gaia and the trees and the bushes and the flowers and the grass and the stones and those in the seen and unseen realms carry an intelligence, and they're waiting for us to reconnect with them. And so this new earth that's coming in, that's already here in the energetic planes, is really a reawakening. And we used to live far more in balance, in connection with all these seen and unseen ones. I mean, medicine people would do ceremonies with the ancestors and the spirits of the land as a way to stay in balance and bring harmony to the land and to their villages. And that has gotten disconnected with the roots of the Abrahamic religious cultures. And so, you know of my work with the Thousand Goddesses Gathering, and now it's a global grid. I mean, I have all these past life memories, and people have confirmed this with me when I've done Akashic Records readings of looking at what has my soul journey been. And I've been a priestess many lifetimes. And so there's a reason I have this calling to do it this time, because it's like, this is part of my soul path. I've done it before. And although sometimes when I walk my path on a day-to-day levels, I'm like, what do I do now, Mother? I've never done this before.
The non-remembering is a huge part of our journey, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too off topic, because I think that what you're saying, I think it resonates very deeply with me. And I think it probably resonates deeply with a lot of people in terms of this time that we have spent in the last year. I see it as in so many ways. I mean, there are people that have lost a lot. There are gifts in it if we sift through it, though, and which I think the number one is the enforced quiet, the lack of distraction, the getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, of being with yourself and listening to your higher self source, getting connected with nature again, which has proven for me and almost everyone I know to be the one thing that has helped provide hope and sanity in this past year, is just to be able to be out and taking a walk.
Yeah.
Hugging a tree,
Yep.
grounding. It's interesting. I woke this morning, and you're my second interview today, and I do get quite the perfectionist in me, the linear in me that is, wants things to go right. There's the old programming that is fear-based. And I do awaken with that, especially on days where I know it's going to be pretty intense. And what I came to this morning was, it's been rainy and cold here for the last 4 or 5 days, so I have not been outside the house. And I went out in my nightgown, just put on a big robe, went out in my nightgown and stood in my bare feet on the earth.
Good for you.
And I was like, I'm like, oh, this is what's missing. But I fall asleep. I forget.
Yep.
I forget. But when I'm present, when we are all present, we embody this knowing that's irrefutable, in my humble opinion.
No, I agree with you. And it is a remembering. And you know what? I would love to do something right now, because you're really bringing this up in a beautiful way. Is you want to talk about how to reconnect with Mother Gaia, or Earth Mother, within this interview. So can I guide a very brief meditation? It's
Sure.
very short.
Absolutely.
And for those listening, there's a longer version on my website, marecromwell.com. It's called Mother's Love Cord Meditation. This short little thing I'm about to do came from a message that Mother gave me in January 2013, when she said to me, I miss all my beloved two-leggeds being connected with me energetically, because we all used to be, because all of our ancestors lived on the land, grew food, lived in the forest, how far back you go, and they all had an energetic connection with Mother, to her heart, but it got broken. It got weaker and weaker and broken over the past 5,000 years or so with the Western culture. Some people's never lost it. Indigenous peoples have never lost it. So let me just guide everybody through this. All right. So I encourage you to have your feet on the floor, or sitting comfortably, or even lying on the floor, however you're listening to this. And take a deep breath in to the bottom of your lungs and even into your abdominal area. Deep, deep breath in and let it go. And then take another deep breath in into the depths of your abdominal area and just let it go. And if you're feeling tension in your shoulders, just release that. Just be here now. Now I want to invite you to visualize that at the top of your spine, a beautiful cord of energy has started there, and it's coming down your spine. And it could be golden, or if it's whatever color comes to you, but let's just say it's golden. And it's coming all the way down your spine to your tailbone. And when it reaches your tailbone, I invite you to visualize the end of this cord of energy going straight to Mother Gaia's heart in the very, very center of the planet. And when this end of this cord reaches her heart, she's actually opening up her heart and taking in the end of your cord of energy straight to the core of her heart. That's how much she loves us. Beautiful. And now I invite you to really send love down this cord of energy from your heart. Feel the love and gratitude you have toward Mother Gaia, all the food you've been able to eat, all the water you've been able to drink, the air you can breathe, the very fact that you have a body and bones and tissue, all sources from Mother. So feel this love and gratitude that you have for being gifted this amazing body. Even if it doesn't feel so great all the time, you still have an amazing body. And send your love and gratitude down this love cord connection straight to Mother's heart. Beautiful. And next, I invite you to call out to Mother, because you're one of her beloved, beloved children, and ask her to send her love up this love cord connection, straight up into your tailbone, into your root chakra at the base of your abdominal area, and into your heart and your energy body and your physical body. Beautiful. And then one more time, feel the love and gratitude in your heart for Mother and all that she's gifted you with. And send it down this love cord connection again from your tailbone, your root chakra, straight to her heart. And take a deep breath in And gently exhale your breath. And another deep breath in, all the way to the bottom of your lungs into your abdominal area, and let it go. And know that you have now connected or reconnected your love connection with Mother through this energetic cord to her heart. And she is the ultimate healer. She's our ultimate mother. And you can work with this more deeply as long as you want. But on that note, we can open our eyes, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your feet, come back into your body completely with your new love cord connection with Mother.
Beautiful.
Thanks. You can thank Mother.
Thank you, Mother. There is a peacefulness that is undeniable when we are connected, which makes me know, capitalized, KNOW, makes me know that this is the place we're supposed to live.
Yeah, this is our planet. And, you know, we chose to come here, you know, and I say that from the place of, because my work spiritually goes to interesting places, but we each have soul bodies and our souls chose to have us come here. And Mother welcomes us. And we're all meant to be really connected with her.
Mm-hmm.
But so many of us are not connected with her because of what happened with the roots of our Western culture and the cutting of that energetic cord and the destruction of the goddess temples, and the priestesses had to flee. And I have some not very fun past life memories of not being treated very well. Let's just put it mildly. You know, for being a spokesperson and a priestess and a healer but at the same time, I'm not playing the victim role because I know I've been a man and I've done pretty heinous things too. Here we are, and it's 2021, and there's this pandemic around the planet, and you have an amazing teenager named Greta Thunberg who really speaks for Mother in many ways. I tuned in one time and I'm like, Mother, you're speaking through her, aren't you? And Mother's like, yes, I am. You know, which was kind of interesting, but I didn't feel like reaching out to Greta and telling her that because I didn't think she would hear that very well. We live in times of huge change, and it's time to come back to the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to come back to honestly living more simply. And you know what I did before we started was I actually printed off the message from the Hopi elders. You thought that the Thousand Goddesses Gathering prophecy was Hopi, but it's not. But I did print off this message from the Hopi elders, and I don't know if there's time for me to read it or read little parts of it. This message really speaks what's happening on the planet. And this message actually came out in the early 90s. Part of the message is, you know, you've been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell people that this is the hour. And this message came out 2 decades ago, almost 3 decades ago, actually. This is the hour. But it's not the hour of fear. It's not the hour of separation. It's the hour of waking up and realizing that we are all beloved children of an amazingly powerful planetary caretaker, connected to the creator or God or Allah, whatever term you want to use, and that there's a whole planet here that is going through a major birthing to heal. But not just to heal, to move into a whole new iteration of the planet. Because we're not going backwards to how it was 5,000 years ago. We're going forwards. And this means we need to wake up to us being spiritual beings in a physical body. We need to wake up to the reality. And this is where quantum physics and a lot of research is coming forward, that our thoughts have energy. And I've had to do a lot of work around this with my healing adventure over the past 7 or 8 months. And those who can't see how short my hair is, I went through chemo last fall because I was diagnosed with lymphoma. But I knew it was a healing adventure, and I'm blessed because Mother told me when it first started in August, she said, this is just a bump in the road for you. You have far more work to do here on the planet. You won't be passing over anytime soon. I'm like, okay, great. It didn't make for an easy next 8 months or so, but it's like the whole fear of death even. it's like fear of change. We're so conditioned with the fear of this, fear of that, fear
Well,
of this.
we want to know. And the paradigm that we're in has also reinforced our sense of immediacy. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
But we need to see it. We need to see immediate results. We don't want to wait for anything.
We think we do.
We think, okay, yes.
We think we do.
The paradigm that we're in reinforces immediacy.
Right.
Because that keeps us in the consumption model. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for it. But this time, again, in my humble opinion, is to teach us patience and to teach us trust.
Trust. There's your word. Trust.
And when Christine and I started this podcast back in July of 2019, one of the first episodes we talked about what if climate change is happening for us, not just to us? Because it's a way of uniting the entire planet. It's a way of saying, it's a way of people, it's calling for people to take a stand for what's important to them.
Right.
Important. It's calling for people to be compassionate. It's calling for people to live from their heart space.
Yes, all of those.
And all of those things are necessary in order for humanity to survive. Humans are incredible beings when our backs are up against the wall. And it feels like that right now. I mean, scientists are saying that we're in the 11th hour. We're in the 11th hour and the 59th minute.
Yeah. No, it's true. And again, I feel really blessed because my whole life has been a trust leap for the past 10 years.
Not an easy thing.
No, but once you start to realize that just because you've jumped off a cliff, you haven't fallen 2,000 feet. You're being actually held by forces you can't even see.
Yep.
And we all have ancestors who have our backs, but most of us don't even know that they're there to tune into or to ask for their help. And when I do ceremony, I'm always asking for my ancestors serving the highest good. And they're like, we're here. I hear them. I talk with them now. It wasn't always like that.
I know for some of our listeners that sounds crazy, but I'm with you because I talk to my ancestors all the time now too, and it's a wonderful thing. Well, when you leave that, we live in a very linear world. We think
we do. See, that's the reality bubble thing. What is your reality bubble?
Thank you. Yeah. When you leave that linear thinking behind and you open your mind to the possibility of what you cannot see, and you can lie back in it, in the hands that are holding you, it changes everything. It changes everything.
It does. One thing is you realize you're never alone, which is huge.
Which I think that's one of the basic fears of the human condition, is feeling alone.
Yeah, which is an illusion because we're never alone. Spiritually, we're never alone. I mean, I have a friend who is dying in the hospital just down the road from the same diagnosis that I have, lymphoma, or had. I got a message last night because he's been texting me from his hospital bed, and his sister-in-law is texting me saying he's in his final hours, and I'm going, oh boy. But I texted him last night. I said, Mother wants me to tell you to call on her, and she's coming through right now powerfully. Maybe you can feel this energy, to ask her to hold you because you're not alone. And I also work with the Virgin Mary and Archangel Michael. I said, they're coming in. They want you to call on them so that you know you're not alone and you're being held in the midst of what is it's terrifying to die unless you have a really good sense of passing over is really going to a much higher place of love. And I know that's not the topic we were going to focus on here, but I'm just sharing this because this fear of death and the fear of the unknown and the fear of cracking open our reality bubble that the Western society has thrown us into, the cultural conditioning, all of that is an illusion. And again, I'm not saying that climate chaos is not happening. It is happening, but there is a huge silver lining to all of these changes. And quite honestly, if you start tracking the earthquakes and the volcanoes around the planet right now, they're kind of active, to put it mildly. Not to mention freak storms and fires, which I know have all been in the media. But what a lot of people don't realize is that this is part of the clearing of denser energies, because I worked with a Shoshone elder really closely for a couple of years, and he's passed, and I miss him dearly. He's talking about the drama trauma of the human emotions. And when the drama trauma gets that stuck in an area, it actually gets embedded into the land, into the ley lines, and affects the weather. So someone like him comes along with his level of gifts and gets asked to clear the land and clear the area so that they can have rain come back in. And he got called to Georgia. He got called to Bear Lake in California. He got called to various places. He actually worked on the super volcano in Wyoming in Yellowstone, and was able to, with high ceremony and teams of people, to calm down the super volcano. Now, to most people, that's like, how could that happen? But when you are that connected with powerful spirit teams and you do ceremony and you're connected with Mother Gaia, it's all energy.
Yeah.
And we have the capacity to affect the energy fields and Mother Gaia. And, I'm getting kind of esoteric. I know I am, but however, I'm just trying to help your listeners maybe sit back and go, whoa, our thoughts have energy, our emotions.
Well, I think if we bring it back to, you're right, you're getting a little bit farther up there than I think, than I think a lot of people are comfortable with, than truthfully some of the things that are in my own belief system. But I can understand it from a perspective of, when you walk into a room, you can feel the energy.
Yeah.
Whether you walk into a party and everybody's happy, you feel that uplift. If you walk into the room of someone dying, you can feel that energy. If you walk into the principal's office where kids are being berated, you can feel that energy, right? So we all know that we're susceptible to energy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can allow your mind to open and extrapolate that, to think about, okay, right now, how many people are in fear of the pandemic? How many people are in fear of climate change? The fear body is huge, and it feeds on itself.
Yeah, the Wetiko.
It feeds on itself, the Wetiko. I'm going to have to Google that word. It's going to be now in my vocabulary. So
I will send you a link.
Thank you so much for that.
I'll send you a link to Paula Levy's blog piece. It's brilliantly written. He's brilliant. He wrote a book about it.
Well, for many years, I didn't know that I was an empath. And I thought that what I was feeling was mine. I don't want to get too crazy about this, but I was actually at a volunteer organization one day, and I was working in the kitchen, actually at Ronald McDonald House in San Diego, where I winter. And I felt this grief that literally my knees buckled, and I had tears in my eyes. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to leave the room, because I started crying. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I knew enough to say, is this mine?
Good for you.
The answer came back. My higher self said, no, it's information. And I turned around, and there were 150 families of cancer kids standing in line for their lunch. I could feel them.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this shit is real. It looks like I tell that story to people, and they kind of look at me like, okay, she's off the deep end. So I can only imagine what you get.
It's overwhelming. But it's not. It isn't. It's an ongoing, double-edged sword, because I have a healing practice, and I had a client from the Netherlands just a few days ago, and the level of emotional stuff going on with her was so intense. The sad thing is, so many people don't even realize that they're empaths.
It's not something that that's in the mainstream. It's not something that we're taught as kids. Okay.
But it's coming out more.
It is coming out more. Once I understood that about myself, it changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed everything. I had, again, way too much information. I had been on antidepressants for decades. I'm not on antidepressants
Been there,
anymore.
done that.
Not on antidepressants anymore, because I know that what I'm feeling is real.
Yeah.
So, and when it gets overwhelming, I'm like, okay, well, then I need to go out and ground.
Exactly.
I need to, I'm too much. I'm flying around the room. I'm not in my body.
Exactly.
Because it's the emotions is too intense. It's not mine.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because I mean, speaking personally, just for the past 8 months with my healing adventure, one of the biggest teachings I kept on hearing from Mother was you need to be in your body. You need to learn how to be in your body. And as an extreme empath, because I'm an earth empath, I can even tune into other parts of the world. And I know this is going to sound wacko, but I've had gifted people confirm this. I can tune into other parts of the world and feel the energy there. It's kind of interesting, put it mildly.
Well, I think the more you open yourself to it, the more you realize where the energy is coming from. I feel the ocean's energy, and the more I'm opening to the idea of that, it sounds insane to
No, but
people
it's
that are very linear. And and for me, my journey was, my father was a math teacher. I have an economics degree. I married an engineer. I have 2 engineer sons. I lived in this extreme left brain world where
yeah.
that was my reality. And I had to numb myself to even function.
Wow.
But once I could own myself, and so I think that's kind of the message for everybody. It's not all, I don't want to make all this about me, but when you can really own who you are and not live to the expectations of the paradigm.
Mhm.
And I think that's a huge gift in this year, that I think people couldn't run away from themselves. They couldn't distract themselves anymore. They had to really spend time with themselves
And hopefully learn to love themselves,
and learn to love themselves.
which is huge.
And not so, judgment is a huge part of our paradigm too.
Yep.
But self-judgment.
Yep.
Self-judgment is still judgment.
Yep.
Let go of the judgment.
But can I get back to something you just said? Because even if somebody who's got a very left brain orientation to the world, their reality bubble is very left brain engineering focused, they still feel something at the ocean. Now, someone who's more sensitive will be feeling more. Maybe even, I'll get out there on a woo-woo ledge right here, but maybe even talking to the ocean and hearing a message back, which is someone like me. That's what happens with me.
It happens with me too.
Yeah. And so we all have a physical body and we all have an energy field around our body, whether you acknowledge it or not. It's
Right.
There are pictures that you can have taken up Curly in photography, and they'll show the color of your energy field. So, the cool thing that's going on right now so fast on the planet is so many people are waking up to this, that we're more than just the 3D world. And those who are still very much stuck in the 3D world and can't open up, it's kind of like, I'm going to refer to this message from the Hopi elders again. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they're being torn apart and they will suffer greatly. If you go into the river and you jump into the middle of the stream, know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water, see who is in there with you, and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and vocabulary. All we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We're the ones we've been waiting for.
Beautiful. It's interesting. I have a spiritual counselor that I work with. And we had a very, very similar conversation, because as I was getting farther down the journey, my spiritual journey, I could see the river. And I said to him, I want to be in the river, but I'm on the shore and I'm holding on to the cattails. I'm afraid to let go. I'm afraid to let go. And he was like, what are you afraid of? And I said, I'm afraid I'm going to be, the currents are going to suck me in and they're going to pull me under and I'm going to be battered. And he said, when you enter the river, you become the river. You are the river. You flow with the river. You flow around the rocks and the crevices. You flow over the waterfalls. You're not being battered. You are the river. And that just was like, wow.
Yeah.
When I could actually take that in, intellectually, it's one thing, in your mind, it's like, well, that sounds like craziness. And then you take it into your heart level and you're like, oh, there's a certain knowing.
Yeah.
But then when you take it into your core, it's like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you can relax into that, does it really matter if anyone thinks you're insane? Does it really? I mean, can you live in service to the higher good? Can you live in
Exactly.
service to source?
Exactly.
And that's, I think we're all being called to that. And when you let go enough to be in service to source, then we're united. Then we are united. Then we see our connection.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This got a little bit way down more far down the rabbit hole than I wanted to, but
But you know, I think that there are a lot more people in that rabbit hole than you realize.
oh yeah.
It's a absolutely very big rabbit hole with lots of amazing rabbits.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I think this is probably one of the longer interviews I've ever had, but it's so great to talk to
fun.
you. So we always close with a 3-part. Do you have some good news that you want to share?
I do. I want to, first of all, celebrate the shutdown of at least one of the pipelines since Biden came into the White House. Don't
Mhm.
ask me which one because I don't remember the details right now. I want to celebrate Deb Haaland
I know.
being accepted by the powers that be in DC to take over that huge role in the US government.
Secretary of the Interior for
Thank
an
you.
Indigenous woman, first ever woman.
And she is one strong force
Oh,
because
I
you gotta
cannot
be.
wait to see what she's going to do.
She stepped into some big shoes there, and I'm celebrating that hugely. I'm also celebrating, you know what? I'm honestly celebrating the sun rising every day because a lot of people have no real concept of this because we take it for granted, but it's because of the sun and the green cells on the planet that take in the sun's energy that we have life.
Mhm.
So I'm celebrating the sun. And I'm also celebrating you for having the courage to do these podcasts with people
Again-
like me who are way out there.
Again, yeah, it's baby steps. You get braver and braver as you go along. And
Oh,
then after a while, you just get to be like, the universe gives you what you can handle it with.
exactly.
The time that you can handle it. If 2 years ago when I started this, if I knew that I was going to be this far out of the spiritual closet, I probably would have been, no, I can't do that.
Oh, I have some action steps. Can we do action steps?
Action steps next. Yep.
Plant a tree.
Mm.
If you want to do one thing for Mother Gaia to help support the healing and the restoration of the planet, plant a tree. And if you can't plant one where you live or in a local park or with a local watershed group, then support groups like Tree Sisters. And there's actually a search engine. Do you know the search engine that every time you use it, the money goes toward planting trees?
Ecosia.
Yeah.
ECOSI. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you...
OSIA. ECOSIA.
I mean, we're all using search engines all the time. So here's one that will help plant trees. They've planted millions and millions of trees around different parts of the world.
I know Trees Sisters is coming up. They're coming up on 15 million trees that they've planted.
It's huge. The other action step is to touch Mother every day. And the way to do that is so simple. Just put your hands on a tree. Or if you can go barefoot on good grass that's not treated with chemicals, go barefoot. Touch a stone. Something as simple as that, and remembering that we're all one, with Mother and the stone and the trees and the grass is very healing.
Yeah, it's what I did this morning.
Amen.
Yeah. And then, so your journey obviously has been, I know a little bit about your background and where you came from and stuff. Well, how do you stay sane when you feel like this is a lot?
I have an altar. I light a candle. I call on Mother. Sometimes I cry in my bed and ask Mother to hold me. Sometimes I go to the altar and light the candle and I go, help! I'm serious. I do. Very often. I did it a lot this winter. And then I seek to calm my mind and remember that there's a much bigger plan afoot here that I know is beautiful and amazing. And if more people were really aware of how beautiful and amazing this plan is, it would be amazing. We would be getting there faster.
Well, hopefully your voice today goes out to many who are listening.
That would be cool.
And confirms that.
That would be cool. And I want to share something that tomorrow I start the 2021 Great Mother Love Way year-long course, which is huge. I've been birthing this for the past few weeks, and my body feels like I've been going through birthing pains. So anything we can do to love our earth and love ourselves. And it's okay sometimes to just call out on the spirit plane to whoever you believe in and say, help, because they hear you. I can vouch for this. Thank you, Rose.
Oh, thank you, Mare. It's been a joy to have you. Thank you to our listeners for listening.
That's this week's episode of Earth Feels. Special thanks to singer-songwriter Kristen Hoffman for generously allowing us to use Song for the Ocean. Thanks for listening.
Don't forget, subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss an episode. Catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Children of the earth, I'm calling out. There's a mission for you and